Hey everybody, welcome to Crackpot, the podcast where each and every week we dive into a different conspiracy theory and we discuss the merits or the demerits of each. Because we are your hosts, I'm Tim.
And I'm Zach. Tim, big day for us here, exciting day for us.
Is it?
I think so.
Cool.
What is it? Mid-Feb, March timing, roughly.
Yeah.
We have one of my very favorite topics. Genres, perhaps.
Yes.
I know you're thinking.
Yeah. Bigfoot.
Football.
Smashing
Bigfoot.
Pumpkins.
Yes, that's right. Anything that references early to mid-90s Nickelodeon cartoons. But none of the above.
Interesting. Throwing me for a curveball here.
We're talking baseball.
Good.
Hey-o. Stupid joke.
I like that, yeah.
No, we're talking legitimately one of my favorite genres, which is obviously ghosts. Things that go bump in the night.
True.
And I don't want to give too much away here, Tim, because he showed up. You don't know what we're talking about. But it's also a genre that you and I have said, hey, we'd love to do more of this kind of stuff. Like it kind of blends a few different things.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Any guesses yet?
Ghosts?
And a little bit of history, a little bit of politics.
Oh, ooh, okay.
Yeah, to pigeonhole this episode specifically into just ghosts, I think we'd be doing it injustice.
I'm intrigued. You have my attention.
Because look, let's face it. We all know, hey, a ghost is a ghost. They're real. Everybody believes, especially you, Tim.
Especially me. Yes, 100%.
But when you bring it up a notch, when you actually have something related to history, hey, the founding of this country, it's pretty interesting, actually.
I think so. I hope so.
Which also reminds me, we do have quite a few ghost paranormal episodes in the backlog. Go back, we got ghost ships, we got Halloween spooktaculars.
Those are good. I mean, they're all good. Every one of our back episodes is A+, top notch.
Literally every single one. It's true.
And also, those Halloween ones are good.
Thank you. I think the most recent one was on the premium feed, so buyer beware. But I will say, if you want to check out patreon.com/crackpot podcast, you get access to all the shows. And we're doing more, I think, paranormal this year. And so therefore more in the premium feed will have paranormal topics too. So all of that to say.
You're
supposed to ask me what exactly.
So what exactly? What's the next line?
Do you not have the script from
So
Warren
what
Buffett?
Exactly are we discussing today? Zach.
Whom?
Stage left. Wait, what?
I love it when the gymnastics people do to use the word whom when they end it. Anyways, I won't go to that. Today, we are talking about one of my favorite genres. We're talking about ghosts in the White House.
This is so weird. I forget how this ended up on our calendar, on our list, or whatever.
That's a very good question. Maybe our list is haunted.
Yeah, well, that could be the ghosts.
Actually, I think
maybe
it
that's
is.
why we're doing all these paranormal, because I didn't put them on there. You can trust me on that one. But I was like, what? White House ghosts? What? And I heard the few stories about Abraham Lincoln and Zach. I did not jump the gun. I'm not going to steal your thunder because I didn't do any sort of research above and beyond Googling White House ghosts or haunted or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, there's actually something happening here.
Well, what I think delineates this specific topic from other, hauntings and or paranormal type shows is just the fact that this is a famous place where actual, everything's documented and recorded and archived and saved and all that kind of stuff. So it's it's not just the house next door with the creaky door and the broken windows and somebody sees something like this. This is archived. It's part of our nation's history.
Which is so weird.
It's actually weird.
So weird.
But I don't want to get too far off the topic, but we probably have some new listeners here. Okay. And my hunch is, my love of the paranormal is well documented, it's well archived in this show. Just to bring the folks up to speed on what your stance is.
Are you saying you're the Mulder and I'm the Scully in this 100%. Specific narrow genre of specters and demons and all that sort of stuff? I think it's accurate. I I like a good ghost story, but
Yeah.
to me that I put more the emphasis on the second word there, story. Because it's, at the end of the day, it's hard to actually, you can't, unless you got some sort of ectoplasm thing and Peter Venkman, you're not going to trap a ghost. You're not going to get it on film. You're not going to document it in any sort of way. So it's really just someone's word at the end of the day. And some people are more credible than others, et cetera, et cetera. And there's patterns in specific places. Don't get me wrong. That's fascinating, but still ghost stories. So I'll hear you out. I'm here for the White House. I'll stay for the ghosts. How's that?
Very well said. Okay, so before we get too far into this, I just want to say, hey, let's talk about the White House itself, because I knew some of this stuff kind of from here and there, and I feel like a lot of this is just like, or a lot of what was in my brain was left over from like middle school, maybe elementary school, like civics type classes. Yeah. First, quick question. Have you been to the White House?
No, I've not been in the White House. I have stood at the gates and I took a picture of the building, but no. You?
No, and I had to kind of rack my brain, which is funny because I've been to DC a few times, have family out there. Yeah. And so we'd go out there to visit and go around and see the various monuments and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I actually don't think I've been in, because I think I would remember it, or at least I hope I would.
Well, the thing I've heard, and I think it's next to impossible to get a tour nowadays, but at least when you could, I mean, the line, you had to get there super early, and then the wait was so long, and it was just a really short tour, and you don't really see much, and it's, I guess, just kind of this letdown. So at least when I went, I didn't even make an effort.
I think that's exactly what it was, Tim, for me too, because it was like kind of this whole situation just to try to get in and then ultimately not even see that much, which makes sense. And actually, if you think about it, why would you let visitors into the White House? Like, I mean, look, we're a republic.
Yeah.
Democracy.
Right.
So therefore, it's the people's house. That being said, it's like stuff gets down there that should not be, I think, exposed to the public.
Sure. I mean, I don't think they're taking you to... Oh, that was a weird Freudian slip of some sort. Not Freudian, but... No, I mean, I don't think they take you through like, the map room or, the Roosevelt room or the Lincoln bedroom on the tour necessarily. Unless you're a high enough donor, then I think you get to stay in the Lincoln bedroom. But
Zing.
Anywho. Yeah, but no, I mean, I was trying to do a little bit of research before this. I went to whitehouse.com. Not what I was expecting. Went to whitehouse.gov. Found a little bit more out. So
there you go. A little bit closer, more closely into what you're looking for. Unless you were disappointed in that too. I guess I'm not really sure. But anyways... We'll leave it at that. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Thank you.
Is the address.
Thank you.
And I wonder too, it got me thinking, I wonder if there are any other like 1600 Pennsylvania Avenues. Like,
in Minnesota?
Or, yeah, like
in St. Cloud, 1600 Pennsylvania.
That would be really funny.
55606 or something, yeah.
Yes. And hey, surprise, surprise, it was not built and inhabited the first day of this amazing country's
I don't get
founding. No, it was built later, in fact. George Washington, by the way, true, distant kind of relative of mine.
Is that so?
This is true.
Oh, congratulations.
I think his sister married a distant relative of mine.
You're practically,
yeah,
something.
Royalty, I believe is the term.
Yes, that was the term I was looking for. Yeah.
Okay, so following the 1789 inauguration of George Washington, he actually lived in 2 different private houses in New York. Huh. And that was just like, okay, let's go live there for a while. Go find a safe house. And ultimately then, it wasn't until 1790 the Residency Act designated the capital be located in what was then a brand new district, DC.
Yes.
But the house still wasn't built yet.
What? And
so they temporarily moved to Philadelphia. So for 10 years while the actual capital was being built. And it wasn't until 1792 that the actual cornerstone was laid of the actual White House. No formal ceremony, but the actual construction began. And as a really sad note, by the way, it was built by slave labor.
Yes.
Which, like, I remember hearing about that and thinking about that, but just like, the more I think about it and the more I reflect on it, it's just so disturbing.
It is. Yeah.
It just is. I'll leave it at that. Okay. Anyways, going forward here, the initial construction took place over a period of about 8 years, and it cost $232,000.
That's nothing, man.
That's what I'm thinking too. Pretty good deal.
What is that in 1792 terms?
A cool $3.5 million.
Still, that's nothing.
For that house, well, keep in mind the original house.
Sure,
right?
sure.
We'll get into all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, what was built, and honestly, if you go back, you look at pictures or renditions of the actual White House, what you'll notice is that it is fairly similar to the one that they have or that we have today. But of course, we'll talk about this in a little bit. Like, it has changed. The designer of the White House, or the architect of the White House, drew upon various influences, and primarily French. And what really struck me as interesting was the fact that you got to remember they were constructing this in the basically the 1800s.
Sure. Yeah.
And so they're not going to be hauling marble across from Italy or all these different types of things. Like, they're relying on relatively local,
kind of what's nearby.
Exactly. And so in the building of this, a lot of local materials were used, which make total sense. But then also, because of that, some of them were more expensive, and so they had to kind of like cut corners in other places. And you got to remember, at the end of the day, they're just building a house. And even though it's the White House,
it's still just a house.
It's 1795. They're building something, and they're just trying to get it done, which is really funny to me.
That's fair enough.
The finished structure only contained 2 main floors. They had planned for 3, but due to budget, which is really funny to say this,
ran over budget. Sorry, we can't do the balcony.
Which it kind of is that.
Jeez.
Budget, time, you name it. They settled on 2 floors with the initial structure, and it wasn't then until November 1st, 1800, John Adams became the first president to live in the building.
Good for him.
And this is like, I don't know if the facts were set up this way in my research as a lead into like what was coming, but I hate to laugh at this, but the day after they moved in, John Adams' wife Abigail said, "I pray heaven to bestow the best of blessings on this house, and all that shall hereafter inhabit it. May none but honest and wise men ever rule under this roof." And a cool 10 years or so later, the house burned down. Sorry, I had to insert that. But anyways, the point being, obviously, this is the symbol, I think, of our country and what it stands for.
Yeah.
In 1814, so to be specific, it was 14 years later that it was burned by the British troops. I'd forgotten. So, I mean, this sounds ridiculous. Obviously, 1776, we're independent, we're a country. The British are still ransacking this country. Like,
come on, guys.
What's the point?
We won. Get out. What's wrong?
I thought they more or less just gave up, or at least surrendered. So I read that. I'm like, why are they burning the White House? But anyways, we're not going to get into that. And so most of the original structure then burned down, unfortunately, and was then rebuilt. And we'll talk a little bit more about, some of the renovations it underwent. But in short, kind of the modern structure that we see today was truly rebuilt after it being burned by the British troops. The structure that we see today now, because it had been renovated several times, is really most closely resembling what was done during the Truman presidency. And so if you think about over the years, really what it looks like, kind of from the Truman presidency on, it's all looked roughly the same, even though there have been some, window dressing changes, that kind of a thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Fun facts: 412 doors, 147 windows.
Really?
28 fireplaces.
28 fireplaces?
I know. You need at least 50. That's where your head's going, right?
Well, I am surprised it's so low. Thank you.
Exactly.
I mean, my house alone has 17. Come on.
Thank you. Exactly what I'm trying to say here. 7 staircases, which doesn't seem like that many to me, despite the overabundance of fireplaces.
There's only 2 stories. We've established that.
They have a basement.
How many
too.
different? Okay, fine. How many different ways do you need to get up and down? Come on.
You need backup.
I guess.
3 elevators, which makes sense. Okay, this is weird to me. Listen to this. Rent is free. Board is not. In other words, the president lives there for free.
Yes.
However, he or she is still responsible for paying all the meals at the White House, all the events, transportation, the wages of the staff. I mean, this to me is like eye-opening. Considering the events that go on there, I do not know how the salary of the president could possibly pay for all this.
I'm sure there's ways to do it. I mean, like, okay, granted, they're a very handsomely, paid civil servant, right? Okay.
Yeah.
What is it? It's like 400 a year, give or take. I think that's the last. Yeah, go ahead and check. It doesn't really matter. But I mean, yeah, like one state dinner could pretty much wipe out an entire year's worth of. So I have to assume that different departments and different budgets and stuff like that come into play. However, I think that when the first family sits down for a Sunday brunch by themselves in the East Wing, that's coming out of their own pocket.
Yeah,
I think.
Correct.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
$400K, by the way, is
400
as of 2020.
Sure. Yeah. Not shabby.
That's a great salary. But considering what actually goes into some of these events, like you said, I mean, it's like you could have one event that legitimately probably costs.
I'd like to have Justin Trudeau over. However, it's
Seriously.
not really in the budget. Can we wait until my check clears?
Well, and this is the other thing, too. So along those same lines, many presidents have left the White House in debt.
Oh, wow.
Bill Clinton left it between $2.28 million and $10.6 million in debt. I don't know why there's a range, but a couple of million at least, which is like, oh, okay, what the next person pays it?
Yeah,
or
right. Just
how does
put
that
it on
work?
my tab. Whoop. Sorry. Bush, that's yours now.
Yes. Of course, famously, you got to have a little bit of fun when you're president. You can't just golf all the time. Famously, Truman had a bowling alley constructed in the White House.
That's right.
FDR had a cloakroom turned into a 42-seat movie theater.
Not bad.
Hillary Clinton converted one sitting room into a music room so her husband, Bill Clinton, could jam on the sax.
Oh, jeez, really?
Yeah,
a saxophone room?
Yeah.
All right, insert joke here.
Also, and this is a show tie-in going back to the Eisenhower conspiracy theory show. Go back season 1 episode, probably like 2 or 3. There's actually a dental office in the basement. So,
interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
That's where the intergalactic treaties are hashed out.
Maybe, or maybe not, depending on what you believe. There's also a chocolate shop, a florist, a carpenter, and a little mini mall in the basement. So
a mini mall.
I wish I knew the reference. I'm sorry. Is it a?
Never mind. Keep going. Going. We'll edit that out in post.
We won't. We will. Anyways, okay. And last but not least, and this leads us most importantly into the topic directly here, Timothy, is we've had several deaths in the White House.
Sure. Now, I got to ask you right up front, how many ghosts are currently in the White House? Do we have a census?
No, but we have some pretty good ideas.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to be tongue-in-cheek here, but really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get into it later.
All right.
I don't want to make light of death, obviously not funny, but I bring up this point because, as we've discussed, a couple of key ingredients in terms of hauntings.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, usually the scene of a death or, like a location where somebody had died. That or could also be a location with a lot of emotion.
Sure.
And I would say the White House. I mean, if you think about,
kind of fits the bill.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yep.
Doesn't hurt to have an older building because you are
being drafty and the
would you
foundations.
stop it?
I'm sorry. The history.
Because of the exposure to kind of door number 1 and door number 2 in that regard, and therefore,
I'm with you.
Yeah. So if you think about it, there couldn't be a more perfect location for paranormal activity. In fact, it's guaranteed.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
It's impossible for it not to have paranormal activity.
Okay. So who? Give me a name. Give me a name.
Wait.
Of
Let me give you a different name, okay?
Okay.
Let me start in a different place. So, paranormal investigator Jared Broach. He's the founder of the company Nightly Spirits. They do haunted tours in the area. And what he said was, the direct quote, "The White House has the best ghost stories, and I'd call them the most verified. Honestly, we could do a 10-hour tour if we really wanted to."
Does he want to?
Oh, I'm sure from a money standpoint, of course, but there's probably no shortage of activity there. And so, of course, he runs a paranormal investigation, tour company, all that stuff. And obviously, the man believes in ghosts. Mm-hmm. But when confronted with it, when asked, hey, do you really honestly believe in ghosts? Do you believe the White House is haunted?
Yeah. Or you're just trying to make a buck? Like, come on.
What's the scoop?
What's the scoop?
What he said was, if I said no, I'd be calling about 8 different presidents liars.
Really?
So we can debate, Mr. Broach or you or me, bump in the night kind of stuff.
I mean, if I may, politicians, presidents, they don't lie. Okay? They are among the most trustworthy, plain-spoken, clear-spoken people. No, I'm joking. That is fascinating, though, because that's not something that a public figure to elected office is just going to go bandy about and say, "Oh, by the way, I saw a ghost last weekend in the treaty room." Your credibility is going to take a hit. And I'm sure they're not shouting it to the newspapers, but nevertheless, the point's taken. I make fun, but the point is taken. That's really interesting.
I thought that was a good point as well, because exactly what you just said, which is these aren't the types of things that I think presidents want to be talking about and or on the record recorded.
Yeah.
And yet they have, and it's happened and all that stuff.
That's super weird.
All right. So there are some real famous accounts of ghost stories, and they revolve around certain figures seeing some of the same apparitions in different places, in different contexts. So let me start with Truman. And on a lonely night, 1946, President Harry S. Truman went to bed 9 o'clock. 6 hours later, heard a knocking on the door. Mm-hmm. And in a letter that was sent to his wife and is archived in the Presidential Library and Museum, he wrote, "I jumped up, put on my bathrobe, opened the door, and no one was there. I went out and looked up and down the hall, looked in your room and Margie's, still no one, went back to bed after locking the doors, and there were footsteps in your room whose door I'd left open. Jumped and looked, and no one was there. The damn place is haunted, sure as shootin'. Secret Service said not even a watchman was up there at that hour."
Weird. So he's hearing knocks on the door and footsteps in empty rooms.
Indeed. And so obviously you think of a busy place like the White House, it wouldn't be a surprise if at all hours of the night people are working, checking, and doing this kind of thing.
That is the thing. I mean, it is obviously a house. People live there, but it's also a place of business. Right. So Secret Service, obviously, he mentioned them, the wait staff, the butlers, the chefs, you name it, the poor intern that has to get that TPS report on Mr. Truman's desk Monday morning first thing. But they're all saying the wing was empty, the hall was empty, no one was up there.
Right.
It's hearing footsteps. That's interesting.
And on top of that, it's recorded. It's archived. It's there.
Right.
And at the end of the letter, apparently what he said was to his wife, you and Margie had better come back and protect me before some of these ghosts carry me off.
Oh, he's probably just lonely for his better half.
Actually, his daughter later basically replied and said, "I think you're just hearing stuff and you're probably just lonely."
Yeah, sure, Dad. Okay.
Exactly. I'm paraphrasing heavily, but that was the gist of it. So
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next one here. Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln is
Heard of him.
notoriously linked to hauntings, both in person, like during life, and then also after death.
Oh, really?
And is probably the most famous ghost at the White House.
Yes, obviously. I don't want to say obviously, but it is the one ghost I've at least heard of anecdotally and in pop culture references and everything else. Lincoln's ghost. I did not know that he also saw ghosts. I mean, the man, well, besides being Honest Abe, of course, he can't tell a lie. So he encountered a great deal of tragedy in his life, and
this is exactly right,
especially at the White House as well.
Yes.
So
you're exactly right. So Abe Lincoln's son Willie died in the White House in 1862, sadly at the age of 11. And famously, his wife was like beyond distraught, and so much so that she remained in her room for weeks. And she reported seeing the ghost of her son coming to visit her at least once during that time at the foot of her bed. And so, obviously a lot of trauma, a lot of sadness and emotion there. However, when we start talking about that family, and kind of to your point earlier, a lot of tragedy as well, like that is kind of that's kind of like starting point number one is sadly their son showing up.
Yes. And I am not at all qualified to say what a grieving mother saw or didn't say, so I'm just going to take her at her word. But,
exactly.
Interesting.
So then following Lincoln's assassination in 1865, First Lady Grace Coolidge spoke in magazine accounts of seeing him look out a window in what was his office.
Seeing Lincoln.
Correct.
Really?
And it's Lincoln. You cannot mistake that mug for anybody else's.
He's a distinct looking chap. Yeah.
Right. And from there were only more and more sightings of Lincoln's ghost. Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands was sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom in 1942 when she reportedly heard a knock on her bedroom door, opened it, and this would freak me out, actually saw the bearded Abraham Lincoln
What?
straight up, and then fainted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to blame her.
I would too.
Holy smokes.
Can you, okay, a couple of things here. First of all, you hear a knocking. Well, you're a queen.
Yeah.
You hear a knocking. You open the door. There's a stranger, but it's Abraham Lincoln, and it's also a ghost.
Right. I mean, what? What do you even, who amongst us has not been royalty sleeping? No, but like what? Okay. I don't mean this as like picking this apart, but like I thought, so that almost sounds like poltergeist activity because there's like a noise or a knocking, whereas my naive understanding of the spirit world is that like, thank you, ghosts just like pass through stuff, I think, or just fade into the ether. So it seems interesting that there's like actual, sound coming.
That's an interesting point and also very wrong.
Okay, thank you. Good.
What I would say is poltergeist activity obviously typically is more associated with like floating tables.
Okay.
Like tricks being played, not just like a knock on a door, but like, rapping on walls and then things falling off the wall. Like,
got it. Okay. So just the fact that a ghost was able to knock on a door or the footsteps clomp down the hallway or whatever, that's not okay.
Yep,
exactly. I'm still with you.
Exactly.
That's weird.
I think so too.
Yeah.
My favorite account, however, is definitely of the encounter that Winston Churchill had with Abraham Lincoln's ghost.
Go on. What?
This is the best.
Okay.
So evidently, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill was staying at the White House, and when he stepped out of the bathroom after having a hot bath, He wasn't wearing anything except for a cigar. He was smoking a cigar.
A cigar and a smile. Sure.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
And he encountered the ghost of Lincoln by the fireplace.
What?
And what did Winston do better than govern? He was a quote machine. He said, "Good evening, Mr. President. You seem to have me at a disadvantage."
What? God, it's that British wit.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. So, like, what happened?
I mean, it's just recorded history, right?
Okay.
It's like, yeah, it's not like they had a conversation or
They
something.
sat down and they figured out how to beat the Nazis. I don't know.
That's probably why I was staying there, right? Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing to think about.
Man, that's crazy.
But
And also, sorry, not to cut you off, but a lot of these and just kind of ghost stories in general seem to happen when someone's just waking up. It's like it's that, time when, the dreaming state is trying to, part of the brain is coming into the awake part of the brain, and that's when you see these apparitions. And I don't even want to go down that whole path of debunking or whatever that phrase might be. But here you have Winston Churchill, straight awake, lighting a cigar.
That's right. That's
standing up, walking into the next room. He's like, "Oh, hey, good to see you. What can I do for you?"
I love
That's
it.
wild.
I love it.
Okay.
It's been said that because Abraham Lincoln so dearly loved this country, I mean, he really gave his life for it, that he tends to come back in an apparition form, usually during times of great trials at this country. And so during wars, during times of civil conflict and strife are typically when his apparition or his ghost is like most apparent.
Really?
Which I think is really interesting. And you may say that's like kind of ridiculous or whatever, or maybe we're just trying to put some framework around ghost sightings. But like, there's enough of these. And like I said, he was a distinct enough looking person to where it's like, you can't mistake the guy. And also, I found it super interesting, like in addition to people seeing his apparition and seeing his ghost activity, President Ronald Reagan said that his dog would go into any room except the Lincoln bedroom.
Oh, really?
And he's quoted as saying, he'd just stand outside the door and bark.
Really?
So it's, during times of strife, during difficulties, all these things, Abraham Lincoln is probably most active. And we've got different reports. I mean, we've got a queen, we've got a prime minister, we've got other presidents reporting this stuff. Pretty crazy to think about.
It is. It
and
really
also,
is.
very, a notorious haunting there. Also, side note, pivoting a little bit here, hauntings didn't just occur in the actual White House.
Okay.
They also occur on the lawn.
Really?
There have been sightings of a ghost that is perpetually doing laundry, hanging up sheets to dry.
Really?
Yes. An apparition of a soldier, presumably a British soldier from when the White House was initially burned.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah, and that's interesting because if you think about the garb or the uniforms the soldiers wore in like 1812, like those are very distinct.
Yes.
There's also reports of a staffer that once worked in the garden, and therefore they see this person's apparition. So it's not just in the White House, it's not just presidents. We're also seeing some apparitions in and around the premises.
Of just common folk.
Exactly.
That's really weird. And again, showing my paranormal naivete, or however you pronounce it. I didn't know that. Just stop right there.
How do you spell it, Tim?
Yeah, right. There's an R, I think. I didn't know that hauntings could happen outside, I guess. Doesn't seem as common.
Where have you been?
Amongst the living, I guess.
Hey, no, they certainly can. And also, just to take it one step further, there was a point in time after the war when the White House burned.
Yeah.
And so therefore they moved the location of the president, like where he was staying.
Still. they're still outside, like present day. I mean, because, you know, if I ever get the opportunity to sit down and just debunk all these ghost stories with you, you know, I hope it'll happen.
Sure.
You know, you talk about drafts and settling, you know, foundations and creaky floors and all that sort of stuff. You talk about just waking up or just falling asleep and that, you know, that state that your brain is in that in-between time. Outside...
Happens all the time.
That's a different ball of wax right there.
Oh, would you believe it then? Like more?
Oh, 100%.
Happens all the time.
It's like on the way in, I saw 6 ghosts standing outside. Like, what are you talking about?
Hello, ghost ships.
Ghost ships. Well, still, it's kind of a ship.
No, I do want to go one step further, though, and say that, hey,
okay.
look, it isn't just outside. It isn't just inside the White House. Also, the temporary site of the White House after it had burned in the early 1800s was located in Georgetown, so just a stone's throw from the actual White House. And apparently there was some unexplained deaths that occurred there. I don't even want to get into the full story there, but what they were saying was that, and I'm quoting the Washington Post here in an article, and they're talking about the hauntings at that interim White House, right? Bells could be heard in the house when no one was there to ring them. A specter of a girl in white could be seen slipping up the stairway. Terrifying screams and morbid groans could be heard emanating from the house.
What?
Some insisted that it was impossible to cross the hall at the foot of the stairwell on certain days without unconsciously going around some unseen obstacle on the floor.
Really?
Really? There's even a police a headline in the Post that said, "Spooks baffle police. Despite the vigilance of Captain Schneider and his officers of the 7th Precinct, they continue night after night their weird and ghost-like tricks. The police are unable to stop the shower of gravel and stones, which appear to be the favorite means of manifestation of these materialistic ghosts, nor are they able to discover whence they came."
What?
So, like I said, you've got a haunted White House, you've got a haunted lawn, and you also have a haunted interim White House. Good luck with all of that.
Yeah, well, weird. I don't know, man.
And if all of these accounts are too old for you, let me remind you.
Remind me, please.
Jenna Bush Hager, the daughter of President George W. Bush, said she and her twin sister Barbara once heard 1920s piano music coming from the fireplace in the bedroom. And in 2009, First Lady Michelle Obama told visiting school children that she and President Barack Obama sometimes heard strange noises in the hallway at night, and other times some Obama family members felt like something was gnawing or chewing on their feet.
What?
Ghost dog?
Ghost dogs?
Obviously. Or something else that I don't even want to speculate.
It's Reagan's dog?
Yeah. That's well done. So, you know, it's not just like from the early 1900s. You know, and also why would, First Lady Michelle Obama.
Come on.
Why would you? Well, come on the show. Why would you tell kids this?
Right? You're trying to get them into public service. You're trying to have them aspire to live in the White House. Come on.
Exactly.
Don't scare them off before they can, get their driver's license. Like,
what's
come on.
up with that?
Really?
Yeah. So,
Weird.
there you go. And if the recent political figures here I just highlighted aren't enough, or the past 200 some odd years of accounts aren't enough, I will tell you, a lifelong staffer at the White House, Jerry Smith, when asked after a quarter century of work at the White House if it's haunted, he said, and I quote, "It's the truth, the gospel truth."
Really?
So you've got accounts from presidents, queens, multiple queens, police, staffers,
right,
first ladies, children, dogs.
The dog one. I laugh, but like honestly, when animals start to act weird in quote unquote haunted areas,
right?
That kind of makes me, you know what I mean? Do I need to finish the sentence?
No, that's actually like more terrifying to me. It's like the cat looks up and follows something you can't see, like, you're just
right.
like, that's creepy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
So just to like kind of wrap things up here, Tim. In short, the White House is haunted. AF.
What does the AF stand for?
I forgot. I don't remember anyway.
No, I got nothing on the top of my head. Well, dude, okay, so weird.
So, I mean, okay,
yeah.
we talk about ghosts, you don't believe in them, whatever, but like, given the people that I've highlighted, like, where's your head at?
Right. I am not going to call every single one of those people liars. I think every single one of those people truly believed that they saw or heard or felt something that was not of the physical world. Could there also be another explanation? Maybe.
A drafty old home.
Probably, possibly.
People working all hours of the day.
Look, I mean, I want to believe it as much as you do because it's cool and it's fascinating. And at the end of the day, it's not really harming anyone besides like getting freaked out in the middle of the night, which, whatever.
Well said.
But a place that is steeped in history and steeped in just history, the history of our nation. Maybe there's just something percolating in their subconscious. Maybe they've heard the stories and their brain allows them to, or put something there that isn't actually there. I don't know, man.
Sure.
I don't know. For me, that's a heck of a lot easier than saying that Lincoln's roaming the halls of an old building, but if not anyone else, why not Lincoln, I guess.
Fair enough.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for your weekly history / paranormal lesson. Thank you, Zach. That was fun. I think when we are able to tour again, we're going to do an East Coast stop, and we're going to ask.
Absolutely. We're
going to ask listener Joe B. Thank you for your patronage. By the way, if we can maybe do a little live show in the movie theater or something.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Or the bowling alley.
The bowling. Hey, look, we're not picky. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, rate and review and subscribe. I say it every single week, but honestly, it helps us grow. It helps new people find our show. And if you want one of these each and every week, just go on over to patreon.com/Crackpot Podcast. It's very easy to sign up, and you get a heck of a lot of extra bonuses besides that weekly bonus show, not even bonus show. I'm just kind of rambling at this point because it's so good I don't know what to say. Anyway, guys, thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for everything, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.